Welcome to this week's edition of the Pete Mezzetti Show. I'm Pete Mezzetti. The topic of the evening is River Valley Transit and what's going on. And with me to discuss this topic of the evening is Brendan from River Valley Transit.
Good to see you as always, Pete.
Hey, bud. How are you? Good to see you.
Doing well. Thanks for having me on. Well, a lot's been new since we last talked a while ago, and yeah, lots of things to talk about. So, yeah.
Well, tell us a little bit about yourself and how long you've been with River Valley and exactly what you do.
Sure thing. So, my name is Brendan Garrity. I'm a transit planner with River Valley Transit. I also work for River Cog as well.
Okay.
Regional Planning Council of Governments, and I currently, I've been doing a lot of work on the bus route changes and schedule changes. So, I plan out all the bus routes and bus stops. I talk to riders, talk to drivers. Talk to community partners, try and figure out what the best routes and stops should be and how we should align our schedule.
Exactly.
And yeah, so I'm happy to be here.
Thanks for coming down. So we actually have, speaking of schedules, we had a service change launch earlier in October. Maybe
yeah, a few weeks ago. Yep.
Yeah, can we talk about that?
Sure thing.
Maybe?
I can give a little overview for that.
Sure.
For folks. So, yeah, so for the last, almost year plus, we've been working on a series of service changes.
Okay.
Including, changing the bus routes, changing the schedules, changing the stops, things like that. So it's been a long process. Like I said, we've talked to our riders, we talked to drivers, we talked to other staff, and we've been working tirelessly to finally take the feedback we got from when we did public outreach, public meetings, and then actually to deliver our final set of routes. And it should also be noted that even before my time, like I said, I've been here about a year and a half.
Okay.
I didn't mention, and even around 2020, they actually completed a study in conjunction with River Cog to actually look at the bus system as a whole.
Right.
So this transit study you can find online on our website or on River Cog's website. What the study did is it took a look at public transportation in Middlesex County more broadly, talk to riders, see what was working, what wasn't working. And coming out of these changes was, one, the decision to merge. So if you see in a River Valley Transit, you might be unfamiliar with that logo. This is our new brand that we merged Ninetown and Middletown Area Transit with last year in July 2022, if folks who don't know. So yeah, here's our new branding and all that, which you can see, which is nice. We were happy with it. And so that was one recommendation. The second recommendation was to look at all of our routes and schedules more in depth and take a look at if we need to tweak some of them. And so we actually ended up changing all the routes and even adding a new route. And all the routes changed to different degrees, right? Some were small tweaks here and there. Some were larger changes. We weren't going to change routes significantly that were working well, and we were going to change ones that needed more work more, right? So we took that in consideration. And yeah, so I don't know if you want, we can maybe do a quick run through of each of the routes in order here. That sounds good. So
absolutely.
Yeah, what we have going through here, we're just scrolling through this is actually our new brochure, by the way, that we're scrolling through right now. And this is pretty exciting. And we have a split between northern routes and southern routes. So we have the northern routes here in the Middletown area, Portland, East Hampton, Meriden, that kind of area. And then the shoreline routes where we are today, here in Westbrook, Clinton, Old Saybrook, Madison, Chester, all that kind of thing down here. So then we have a couple of routes as well that serve both Middletown and the shoreline.
Okay.
Yeah, so we can keep going here again in order. So we're going to start with Middletown. We have all our fare information as well, so you can see all of our bus fares and costs and everything like that. And then here's our system maps. You can see in the north there at the Middletown routes, and then in the south there you can see the routes there. It's split in 2 pages again. This is a brochure, so you can see it there. Yeah, and there's the other half there. As you can see, we even go to New London as well. And the new route that right there is that 640 route you can see in orange, which we'll talk more about later. But yeah, so this is our new map here.
Okay.
Yeah, and then see if there's our northern routes. Yep. This is the focus in on the northern routes. And here's our first route we can take a look at. So, one of the main things we looked at with these route changes was that we were going to keep the same major locations, right? So for our riders, these are going to be familiar routes. Everybody knows the 581. If you were in Middletown, it looks like the 581.
Okay.
What we wanted to do, though, is we wanted to add service on both sides of the street.
Right.
So many of our bus routes before were these big loops that you had to basically, let's say for example you wanted to get to the end of the route, you have to hop on the beginning just to get to the end, and it was kind of confusing for our riders. And a great example of this I'll touch on later when we get to the route, but for this route and many other routes, we wanted to actually add service from both directions of the street. Okay. Which means instead of one big loop, we actually go in and go back out the same way. So as you can see, the 2 arrows indicate you can get on the northbound side of the street as well as the southbound side of the street.
Okay.
Before you had to actually, there was no service in both directions, only in one direction. So you had to hop on and then kind of make your way around. long story short, this is a lot easier for many of our riders trying to get downtown.
Right.
So that was very helpful. They can wait for it to come by them instead of having to ride the entire route. So it saves them some time.
Okay.
Yeah, so moving on, we can move on to the next route here in order, which is the 582. This is another one of our routes.
Wesleyan.
Yeah, we have Wesleyan Hills, and it goes all the way to the Senior Center in Middletown. Goes to the Recreation Center, the new rec center, and the Pat Kidney Sports Complex, and goes all the way down to DSS, Department of Social Services. That's a big stop for us as well. And again, with this route, we sort of remove some of the extra loops and made it a little more streamlined. And again, that services in both directions, which I think some of our riders like. But we also, based on rider feedback, if you see where the 6 is towards the east there, that was initially going to be removed as part of the route, but we heard from riders that many of the riders get picked up there. And so we specifically added that little extra stop just to make sure we get everybody, because again, we wanted to listen to that feedback and to our riders, so we weren't going to leave them high and dry.
No, definitely.
And then our next route, I think, is one of my favorite ones, is the 583. This route has changed a lot. So this route before was a big, long loop and covered a lot of Middletown. And this route the purpose of this route is to get folks to the Washington Street shops. So for folks who aren't familiar, on Washington Street, there's a Big Lots and Aldi, a Price Chopper. It's sort of a big commercial area.
Yeah.
And so people get there for work, to go to a grocery store, to shop, that kind of thing. And before, the route took about 30, 40 minutes to get to the Washington Street shops.
Ooh.
This new route, you get there in 20 minutes. So it cuts the time for you to get from point A to point B. And also, we better serve the Wesleyan student population as well. Many students weren't taking the bus, and I'm happy to say, since we've actually gone into the campus center and pulled in there, we're actually getting some students starting to use the bus, which is nice to see. And we think it's only going to grow, so that's a nice bus route as well. And I think it's a lot cleaner of a bus route. And again, it serves in both directions of the street, where before it was one big loop. And now you can catch it inbound and outbound, so you can wait at either side of the street, which our riders have been liking. And then we can go into the 581, 583. So this is our combined routes. So we're starting our routes that happen in the evening.
Okay.
So several of our routes, when we go into the evening or on Saturday, actually combine. This is due to limited funding we have in the evenings. So what we do instead of cutting a bunch of our routes, we combine them to make sure we still get you to the main spaces, but just in sort of a bigger conglomerate route. And so this one hasn't changed too much, so we can keep moving on. I won't spend too much time on this one.
Okay.
And then this 582 again on Saturday, so we can combine the 582 and 583, kind of make this combination of the 582 and the 583, so it hits, kind of the same areas that it does during the day. And then we can move on here to now it's 584. This is what I wanted to get to. This is another great route, and this illustrates my point of the bidirectional service even more. So before this route, so in the old schedule, old routing, if you lived in the north end of Middletown, right, where you see that where it says High Street, number 2,
sure.
If you lived around there, you would if you wanted to get to downtown, the bus terminal there, you would have to ride the entire bus route, all 45 minutes just to get back down.
Oh, God.
So it would take you a 45-minute bus ride for a 2-minute drive or a 10-minute walk.
Yeah, right.
And this new route, you can actually just wait for it to come back down when it's coming inbound. So it'll leave from the terminal, go to the north end, come up, hit Cromwell, come back down, and it also hits the north end again on the way in, so people can wait for it to come in and hop on instead of having to wait on the bus the entire time. So again, we're shortening travel times, trying to improve access there as well. So that was sort of a good example of that bidirectional service. I can tell you, since I've been on some of the buses talking to our riders, they love that here, and it's been a nice change. So I'm happy to hear people appreciate it and like it. And then we can move to 585. Not much to talk about here. We basically just changed from going on the highway earlier, a little later on Berlin Road. Not too much change there. A little more access to the Stop and Shop. That's about it. Okay. 585. This is our combined route. So again, after 7 o'clock, our routes become combined until 11 p.m. So again, this is sort of a combo between the 584 and 585. Let's see what else we have here. Again, this is the exact same route, just on the Saturday. It's the same route, just on the Saturday timeline, from 8 to 5. And then this is the 586. This route also changed a good deal.
Okay.
This is our route, actually a rural route. Yeah, it goes all the way to East Hampton into Portland. And this is a great route. Again, we're trying to connect folks who typically don't have access to transit out in these communities and getting them to Middletown. And so we made some changes here. We shortened it up to actually meet a little more consistently. So right now this bus will actually meet with all the other buses in Middletown on the hour. Before it didn't do that, so we basically have improved transfer connections for this route and other buses. Let's see here, and the last is 590, yep. So This bus also didn't change much at all.
Yeah.
It kind of functions, it serves its purpose. It's basically a route that gets you from point A to point B. It gets you from Middletown to Meriden. It's almost an express bus. We only have a few places people can get on. It's more of like a point A to point B kind of route, but people use it a lot, and it's a good route between Middletown. And there's also a train station access as well. It pulls right into the train station in Meriden, so you can catch, some good multimodal access there.
That's right. You guys go to Meriden now too, don't you?
Oh yeah, exactly. That's where we go.
Okay.
Yeah, so we go right to the train station there. Yep. And now we're moving on to our shoreline routes here. So I'll wrap it up. I promise. We're moving, and I think we're going to start with our 640 route, I believe, which is our brand new route, which we're excited about. Yep. This is the loop here. So this route's pretty cool. This route serves many purposes. As part of these changes, we not only changed the routes, we also changed the schedules and how they operate.
Yeah.
And so in the shoreline, about 4 or 5 of our buses meet at that Old Saybrook train station. And before these changes, they were meeting at odd times. So one would meet, an hour before the next one. And so basically, if you were a rider using multiple bus routes, you'd have to wait sometimes an hour plus to get your next bus, which is awful for ride times. So we tried to fix that by having all the buses meet at the same time. That way you can just hop from one bus to the next, kind of like how we do it in Middletown. And so that was, we think so far it's been going well. And on that 640 route, we can move on to 641. So we're moving on to the 641, which is the most popular route in the entire region for sure. This is some of our new schedules. As we move to the next slide, you can see the map, I think, a little better.
Okay.
Let's see here. There we go. Perfect. So you can see this is sort of this is our shoreline route. This is our Boston Post Road route,
yes.
right? So we go from all the way to Old Saybrook to Madison. So either train station, the Scranton Gazebo, we hit Clinton train station, Westbrook train station, all the shopping centers, all the plazas, all the Westbrook Outlet Mall, the Clinton Crossing Mall. So this is by far our most popular route in the shoreline. In fact, this route does just as well as our top routes in Middletown. So it's actually our second or third biggest route in our entire 12-route system. So that's very impressive for a route in the shoreline. So it competes with the routes in Middletown for ridership.
Really?
So yeah, I guess a lot of people use this route, which is great. And now we have it hourly throughout the day.
Cool.
642, we had to trim this route up because we had to make sure it pulsed with the 640 at the Old Saybrook train station. And so again, it's pretty much the same route. We just trimmed it up a little bit, make it there a little faster. And yeah, nothing too much to say about this one, but it's a good local route. Essex, Deep River, and Chester. Yep. And this is a cool route. This is our route to New London. Yeah, so we got kind of like similar to the Middletown Meriden. This is more about getting you to point A to point B, but we still service in Old Lyme and East Lyme as well. So around the Flanders Road area, there's some shopping as well as sort of the shore road of Old Lyme. We also hit that, and then again, it's a good route. We've got 2 more routes here. We should be all set. I can move to the next slide. Let me see. You can see the map there. There we go, perfect. So this is our, that's okay.
Ooh, hold on.
There we go. This is our Old Saybrook to Middletown route. This is our regional route. So again, it goes all the way from Old Saybrook to Middletown. Pretty much again, goes through Deep River, Essex, Chester, Haven, Hingham, and then it gets to Middletown and then back down, vice versa. So good regional route.
Absolutely, yeah.
And then our last regional route is the 645. Very similar concept as the 44, except
Madison to Middletown. That's right.
Madison to Middletown.
I forgot
Yep. And actually during the summer, this route also on Saturday will pull right into the Hammonasset Beach. So we have a thing called Park Connect where it's a free ride right from Middletown, pulls you right into Hammonasset. Not to the gate, actually pulls you right into the beach, right by that roundabout. You can just hop off and go to the beach. So
cool.
We had some people take advantage of that this year as well, which was cool. So yeah, that's the basic rundown for all our bus routes here. Just going to give you a flavor, the quick overview. Yeah. But if you want any more details, you can get this guide on our website. It's a free download. You can just download it. And we also have tons of copies at our different transit centers and all of our buses and stuff. So these aren't too hard to find, and we definitely want to get them in people's hands. So yeah.
Now, one of the cool things we did not mention yet is with the route buses.
Yes.
they don't go into Stop and Shop and ShopRite in Clinton anymore.
Correct. So on the 641 route, we actually no longer go in those pull into those locations. We still drive by them.
Right.
So we often pick people up at the sidewalk on either
the
end.
street.
Yeah, on the street. Yep.
Yeah.
So the reason why we did that is a couple of reasons. The first is actually a safety reason. So especially on the ShopRite Plaza, as you can probably test, it's not really designed for a 30-foot bus to be driving around in.
I know.
Yeah. So we've had some close calls and some cars almost bumping into us and people, and so. Believe it or not, these 30-foot buses aren't actually really designed to be pulling into these shopping centers.
Right.
I think often people think of a bus pulling in, and whenever we can, we try and do that. But
right.
It also saved us some time as well. We had to get the route to under an hour. It was an hour and 15 before, so we had to find a bunch of kind of creative places to save some time. And believe it or not, pulling into those locations can often take at least 5 minutes, and so
yes.
you're pulling into them twice, so it kind of adds up. So there's a bunch of reasons why we did that for safety and for time. And again, but we also know that's not. It was a hard choice because we do know that some people, really need to be close up to there. So,
right.
So it was a tough choice, but we ended up going with this. But again, we're open to changes and feedback as well. So these, just because we change them doesn't mean we can't adapt them further, right? So if there are issues that come up, we can. We do take all feedback. We log all the feedback, all the comments, and so we definitely can revisit it at some point if there are issues in the routes.
Now, as far as if somebody goes to ShopRite and does shopping
yep.
and wants to get it back on the bus, obviously they just walk out to the
other side,
the corner of Route 1.
Exactly. Yep. Exactly. So they go on either side out of the street. If they're going eastbound, they go one way. If they're going westbound, they go the other.
Right.
Other side of the street, and then they would hop on the bus that way. And again, for everybody who hasn't used the system before, we have a flag stop system, so you actually wave to the bus driver when you see
yep.
them. And the schedules we just showed, you can kind of get an idea for when the bus is coming there. So if you're at the Stop and Shop at Clinton, it'll tell you, okay, at 8:35, for example, and
right.
making it up, be there. So you can wait at 8:30. When you see the bus go by, you wave at it. The bus driver will see you,
and
pull over, and you'll get on that way. So we will eventually be switching to a bus stop system, where you actually have bus stops throughout everywhere, and you can just wait at those. But until then, we have the flag stop system, and that's more characteristic of suburban and rural routes. It's common. Usually cities have the more traditional bus stop system.
Yep.
But there are a lot of advantages to the bus stop system, like increased safety, and where we put the bus stop, you can make sure it's a safe place. So there's a lot of advantages to the bus stop system that will be changing eventually. But.
Now, one of the cool things that I've noticed, because I was on the route bus recently,
yep.
was it now announces the next stop.
Next stop? Yeah.
Yeah, it's like I was on the bus not long ago, and I was sitting there and I heard, I'm like,
next stop. Yeah.
What is it?
Yeah.
And it threw me off. I'm like, what is that?
Yeah.
Wow.
Let me ask you a question. Was it loud? Was the volume loud?
Not really.
Okay.
It wasn't like super loud,
okay,
but
good.
it was loud enough that I had AirPods in and I still heard it.
Okay, we'll go because I've heard we've had some issues recently. The only reason I asked it's a funny story because we've had some issues where we've been on the bus and it's been like loud, like wow. But to your point, yeah, we do have a new automatic voice announcement system in all of our buses where it'll announce the next stop. I've gone through and made sure to try and make sure it's not happening. It's a balance of you want to announce the important stops,
yes,
but you don't want to announce every single stop because it'll drive the driver and passengers crazy.
Yeah.
And so we're trying to find that balance right now. We've had some tech issues on the vendor side, but hopefully we'll get to a good place. But I think very shortly you'll have a really good service where you'll hear the stops coming by. You'll see next stop, Stop and Shop at Clinton, and it'll be there. So that's a pretty cool thing. It's especially good for folks with either visual or audio impairments because they can hear it that way. So if they're a little harder seeing, they can still hear it, and then okay, this is my stop. I can get off. Or we also have the LED signs on the buses as well. So if they have some issues with hearing, they can still see. Okay, my stop is coming up. So it's definitely a good accessibility feature as well, and it's just nice to hear. If you're not aware.
Now you said it's an automated voice, right? So it's nobody's
nobody's
voice,
If you've ever been like a subway or something where it's like now approaching,
yes, like the T in Boston.
Crossing. Exactly. Think the T in Boston or
like
the T in New York
Boston.
City.
Yeah.
It's sort of an automated voice saying now approaching or that kind of thing. I should also say as part of these changes, we've also added passenger counters. So we have these little cameras in all the buses now where when someone walks on, it doesn't take your picture, don't worry.
Really? Cool.
It just sees, okay, that's one person and it counts it. What that'll give us a passenger count on each stop. So we know which stops are performing well, which stops aren't performing well.
Ah.
So we can see, okay, in the month of May, 60 people got off at the Water's Edge Resort, and we know, okay, that's how many people got off then, or maybe only 2 got off, and so we can kind of see, okay, where are our most popular stops, where can we improve, So I think that's a good thing too. It'll also help if we're looking to improve the bus stop amenities, maybe at a shelter, at a bench, we'll know, okay, does this stop get enough, traffic to warrant a bench or a shelter, right? So that's going to be useful data for us from the planning side. So I'm excited about it. To nerd out all over all that. More data for me is good. So the more data I can get, the better.
Keeps you on your toes.
Keeps me on my toes and keeps me hopefully better informed when we make decisions. So, yep.
Now, how long did this whole process take, start to finish?
For the service changes?
Yeah.
Good question. Well, you could honestly say 2017 was the start.
Okay.
Believe it or not. Because that's when 2018, 2017, we started talking about, before my time since I was there, but people started to talk about merging the 2 systems, doing the transit study, and from that transit study came these changes. But since we've really started to focus in, I would say probably the last year or so, we've really been like, okay, now we're actually committed to making these changes and actually going through and doing them. So that change actually, I'd say, is about a year of actually really focusing in hard on trying to change the routes and get them done. And we did. So I'd say it's a nice way off the shoulders, but we have more service coming in soon too. So we can't rest on our laurels for very long. So.
All right. Would you mind sticking around for another segment?
I'd love to.
All right, we'll be right back.
It was kind of the storm of the century, or the 500-year flood or storm, that by some estimates over 15 inches of rain fell over a 3-day period on June 4th, 5th, and 6th, 1982.
What is pickleball? The sport that has captivated millions with its combination of tennis, badminton, and ping pong can be played 1-on-1 or 2-on-2.
Hi, thanks for joining me. This is September Selectmen's Update.
Hello everyone, Carl Fortuna here again with another monthly update.
Good morning everyone. Today's the Town Council regular meeting, Wednesday, October 4th, 2023 at 8 a.m., Town Hall Green Room.
We will move on to the minutes of September 5th.
Smart TVs and streaming services have taken over the television industry. VSC TV is proud to announce our presence on Apple TV and Roku to make watching your favorite shows even easier. You can access this service by downloading the Cablecast ScreenWeave app. Then choose Valley Shore Community TV from the list of channels. Select VSC TV Live to watch our channel in full HD. Or pick a show from our on-demand video library. VSC TV is your local Connecticut Mid-Shore Valley digital connection.
Welcome back to this week's edition of the Pete Mezzetti Show. I'm Pete Mezzetti, sitting here with Brendan from River Valley Transit. Welcome back.
Thank you, Pete.
Thank you, sir. All right, let's see. Bus and terminal upgrade installation.
Sure, yeah, let's talk about that. Yeah, so as we mentioned a little bit in the last segment, we had some of the bus upgrades we mentioned were the automatic voice downs that we talked about.
Yeah.
as well as the passenger counters on the buses, but we also have some terminal upgrades as well. So at a few locations, our sort of transit hubs, if you were, our bus terminal in Middletown is getting actually a series of things. We've currently installed an indoor monitor that'll show our new bus routes, so you'll see when the bus routes are coming, their real-time information. We also have we've installed 2 outdoor signs as well. So they're like outdoor screens that'll show, again, the real-time information of the buses. So it'll show, for example, 581's running 2 minutes late, you'll see that, or you can see when it's coming in. And again, it'll scroll through all the routes so you can see kind of where the bus is. It's good for our riders to know, okay, don't panic, the bus is just 2 minutes late. You know what I mean? So especially folks who don't have smartphones, because you can still see the updates that way. We have apps and stuff that can show you the real-time information, but if you don't have a smartphone, and many of our riders don't, you can still see the times incoming in. So it's a good feature there. And then we're adding like a 7-foot tall kiosk at the Middletown terminal.
Really?
Like a big massive screen that'll have a system map, so it'll show our entire map with all the routes, kind of like what we saw on the guide there, and then it'll have, again, the same thing, all the different incoming routes coming in with their times. It's like 581, 5 minutes late, 582 on time. You can see the different routes coming in and how they're doing.
Now, will one of those signed schedules be coming to the terminal in Old Saybrook?
Yes, thank you for reminding me that. Not only in Old Saybrook, but also in Madison. So this Credit Gazebo in Madison, by the Stop and Shop, that's one of our main transfer points.
Yep.
We actually transfer with 2 of our routes, so the 645 and the 641. 2 of our routes meet there, as well as CT Transit 201, which is Connecticut's bus, state of Connecticut's bus.
New Haven?
Goes to New Haven, you got it, yep. That's a huge transfer point for us. A lot of folks get on from the 201 and off from the 641, and vice versa. A lot of folks get on from the 641 and get off of the 201 for the final destination. So we'll be having a smaller version, not the big 7-foot tall kiosk, but a more modest, sign that'll show, again, the real-time information of, here's, the 41 on time, 45 2 minutes late. And then we'll even have the 201, even the CT Transit's bus will also be there too.
Oh, cool.
So you can see, how is everything going on time? And same thing in Old Saybrook. It's especially important in Old Saybrook because that's basically our shoreline hub.
Yep.
So that's where, again, like 4 or 5 of our bus routes meet there. So it's it's important that we have good information when the buses are getting there on time. And now that they all meet together, it's even more important that riders know, don't worry, the bus is just 5 minutes late, it'll be there. So having that real-time information on these signs will be awesome. So
now, according to me, and correct me if I'm wrong, the pickup location in Old Saybrook is across the street from the train station.
Correct. Yep. So it's basically part of that same complex.
Yep.
If you're familiar with the Old Saybrook train station, you'll see the Amtrak station.
Yep.
And when you're driving in, to your right, you'll see a series of like shops and the Amtrak waiting station.
Yep.
And to your left, you'll see a little parking lot and a bus shelter. That bus shelter is where all the buses line up.
Gotcha.
So that's where the 3 or 4 buses will all meet on the hour, and then people can now. This is a recent thing from the changes a couple weeks ago. They can now hop on from one bus to the next. Before, all the buses would meet, but again, they'd meet at different times. They'd meet, half an hour later than the other one, and it wouldn't work for our riders. They have to wait a long time to catch the next bus. Now, they all meet together. So that's a nice benefit, too.
The other nice benefit is if you're, like, in the afternoon, let's say you get out of work early and you get out at 2 o'clock, you don't have to wait till 4:30 because there used to be a 2 o'clock, and then so now the buses are running every hour.
Exactly, especially for the 641.
Yeah.
That's our most popular route in the shoreline by far. For some, not for some reason, I know either reason. We only had enough funding to run 3 vehicles for a certain amount of hours. So there were some blocks we had in the day where there wasn't a ride available for an hour. Normally it comes on every hour, right? So normally it's every hour, 6, 7, 8. But for a while there, until recently, we actually didn't have the funding to fill in those gaps. Because we were able to, it's so complicated, because we were able to reduce the amount of time. So before, the route length was an hour and 15 minutes. And so we needed 3 buses to cover that to have every hour in each direction. For lack of a better term, now, because we've shortened to an hour or less, now we only need 2 buses for that. So long story short, the new routing is also more efficient for us.
Okay.
So we were actually able to add, not only were we able to have it be hourly throughout the day, we also added an additional trip in the morning, an additional trip at night. So now there's an earlier run used to be at 7 was the first run, now it's 6 a.m. And same thing, it used to be 6 p.m., now it's 7 p.m. in each direction. So we've added a couple extra runs in the morning and night as well,
Cool.
Which I know for many of our riders who are having a hard time making work, especially in the morning early for an early grocery store shift, something like that. Now they can with the 6 a.m. runs. That's been a nice change.
Now, how many buses are in the fleet?
Good question. I think it's around 40.
Okay.
40 buses in total, and I think usually we're operating around 20, 25, between 20 and 30 a day, depending. So we have some in spare to make sure if one goes down, we can
Just in case
replace them.
something
And
happens.
also, many of them are kind of on our preventative maintenance, making sure they're getting oil changes, new tires. They're constantly being worked on to make sure they put on a lot of miles, as you can imagine. They're constantly out there, so they can rack up a lot of mileage and need maintenance pretty frequently.
Now, obviously, you have to fuel them. So
Yes.
where do they?
Where do they get fueled?
Yes.
So they fuel at, we have some fueling in Middletown, actually on our site. And then if we need, like some of the trucks that take other we'll go to like gas stations sometimes if we have to in a pinch. But usually we have our own fuel that we buy. And then I believe in the shoreline, I believe they do go to the gas stations as well.
Okay.
Yep, for many of the buses, yep.
Now I also started seeing the new buses with the River Valley Transit wrapping on the road.
Starting to see more of them, that's good.
One picked me up this morning.
There you go. So yeah, we have the new, a lot of our buses that are coming out
It's
now.
very sharp.
Are having the new logo. People like it. People seem to like it.
Yeah.
Again, it kind of follows this color scheme of the green and the blues, and it's people are liking it so far. It resembles more so the Ninetown Transit logo than it does the Middletown, but it definitely still is a new logo and has the colors people like. And I think more and more are starting to see the River Valley buses starting to take over more, which is good. And any new bus we buy will come pre-wrapped with our logo, right? So you're still going to see Ninetown Transit buses and Middletown area transit buses for a while, because we're not going to, for example, we're not going to spend a couple $1,000s repainting, a bus that's about to die in 6 months.
Yeah, right.
It's a waste of money.
No.
But if it's a brand new bus, we will be putting on our new logo, of course. So it's one of those things that you're going to see some remnants of the old two transit districts for a while, but eventually all of our fleet will be River Valley Transit, or at least dang near most of it will be. So we're very excited that, and I know we have new buses coming in soon, so you'll see even more of the replacements coming in with the new logos.
Now, where do you get your buses from?
Of a variety of manufacturers, but I think primarily our biggest manufacturer is Gillig for the big buses. So the big buses, a company called Gillig, but some New Flyers as well, which is a competitor. And then for the shuttle vehicles, the smaller vehicles, it's sort of a hodgepodge. There's some Fords, there's some Star Trains, there's a whole bunch of different people who make those shuttles. And often what they'll do is they'll use a Ford chassis, so they'll use a Ford vehicle, right? And then they'll add an additional sort of chassis on top of it. So a company might buy the Ford car or truck,
right,
and then build on top of it, like custom build it to have the actual bus part of the bus where people sit.
Now, what makes the difference of if the big bus picks you up, or the small bus picks you up?
Well, there is no difference really. At the end of the day, there's no difference. It's just usually they're just assigned to different routes.
Okay.
So, for example, the 641 that we were talking about, the most popular bus route that we have in the shoreline, that one uses the big bus because it actually needs capacity. There are times that bus gets full. The seating is full. Not always, right? There's times where it's empty, but there are times where it's full.
Really?
And so, oh yeah, it gets pretty full. And even in Middletown, especially, the buses will get full at peak times. The other buses that we talked about, the 42, 43, 44, and 45. They're all pretty light on passenger count, so we can use the shuttle buses for those. And we never run with any capacity issues there.
Now, one of the things we have not talked about yet is the Dial-A-Ride program.
Sure.
Tell us about it.
Yeah, so Dial-A-Ride is one of our programs. So we implemented it because we know that we serve over 12, 13 routes. We have extra mile, we have all these services, but we also know that there are many parts in our community, that we serve Middlesex County. There are many places in Middlesex County that don't have a bus route going through them.
Right.
Or you might live like a 20-minute walk from a bus route, or it's not going to be convenient for you to use the bus route. And so Dial-A-Ride is our response to that. So it kind of fills in those gaps. How Dial-A-Ride works is if you live more than 3/4 of a mile away from a bus route, you have access to Dial-A-Ride.
Yes.
So basically what it works is if you can't conceivably, and our reasonable metric is 3/4 of a mile. So if you're beyond that, we basically say it's not reasonable for you to be able to walk to the bus and get there. So we'll actually come and pick you up and drop you off at certain locations. It's an advanced reservation service, so you can't just, it's not on demand like Extra Mile. It's advanced, so you have to, you can call up to 2 weeks in advance or up to the day before.
Okay.
So we need at least a day's notice, but you can also, if you know, you can give it to us 2 weeks in advance and we'll schedule you in. And so a driver will give you a pickup window. Let's say you need to get to the doctor's appointment for 4 o'clock. You can say, I want to be picked up at 4 o'clock, and they'll come and give you a time. Now, we recommend that you buy some time in case there's traffic and other people on the bus. So if you have an appointment at 4, maybe make it 3:30, and if they're a little late, then you're okay, right? So it's all into give and take. We know they're drivers, so and they're driving on the road, so there could be traffic, could be construction, be picking up other passengers. So it's important to give yourself and the driver some leeway in time.
Right.
So maybe go half an hour early and half an hour late, just to make sure you're going to get a ride each time and that you're going to be all set. So that ride's great. It's $3.50 one way, $7 round trip. Again, that's door to door, so it picks you up at your house,
Right.
and then drops you at the curb of the place. It's almost like kind of like a public transit taxi in a way, but it's advanced reservation. I can also mention Extra Mile as well. Now we're talking about other kind of services we provide. So, again, in addition to the fixed route bus, in addition to the dial ride, we also have Extra Mile in a few parts in our region. So, we have 2 zones currently. We have one in Old Saybrook, Westbrook, and Essex. I think you've used Extra Mile before.
I have.
Yeah, excellent. And then we also have one in Middletown that's kind of a pilot project we're still kind of starting and testing. And the one in Old Saybrook, and how Extra Mile works is, the best way to describe it is like a public transit Uber or Lyft, where it's an on-demand, truly on-demand. So right now, if I wanted the ride, I would type in, okay, we're here at Water's Edge.
Yeah.
I want to go to the Clinton Stop and Shop. You put it in pickup, drop off, and immediately you get a estimated time arrival, and a bus will come headed into you as soon as it can.
Right.
So this bus is also picking up other passengers on the way, and again, you can go anywhere in the zone. So it doesn't take you all across Connecticut. It's just in a certain zone. And for us, we have one in Old Saybrook that also encompasses portions of Westbrook and Essex as well. So it's like a big zone that anywhere in that zone you can go and get picked up and dropped off again, curb to curb. So it picks you up and drops you off. And that's $1.75, so it's very cheap. It's very, very affordable. You try that with an Uber or Lyft, you're looking at $10, $20, $34. So
exactly.
It's definitely a much more cost-effective option, and a lot of people love it. And I know that people love this so much, we've actually had requests to expand it and add new zones. And so we have a new zone in Middletown we've been testing out. People have been responding to that as well, which has been good. And also happy to say that it looks like, and I can't guarantee it, but it's looking good. We're going to get some funding to actually have new zones in our region.
Really?
So it looks like we're going to have some money to beef up our Middletown zone, make it more of a permanent thing.
Okay.
As well as add a new zone in East Hampton and the Belltown area, if folks are familiar.
Sure.
So this will be a small rural zone. We'll only have one vehicle, but it'll be a nice little way to connect people with their downtown and their residential, as well as our biggest undertaking ever, the entirety of Madison and Guilford, the entire town boundary of both towns will all be one Extra Mile zone.
Wow.
So this will be basically just as big, if not even a little bigger than our Old Saybrook zone. So it's a big undertaking. Oof. This is a 2-year pilot we've gotten from the state. Again, it's not guaranteed yet, but it's looking good. Let's get some funding for 1, 2, or 3 of these things. And so there could be a new Extra Mile zone coming to you, so keep an eye out for that. Again, it's $1.75 one way, $3.50 round trip, and it's a pretty good deal, and it's very convenient. So people have been using it a lot. Like I said, we've had tens of thousands of people use it in the last couple of years. So it's definitely growing, and people want more of it. So it's very convenient.
Now let's talk about the app.
Sure, the Extra Mile app?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we recently switched software providers. So, the Extra Mile system runs on software. So it's not just you calling in and then we just tell them to go out. How it works is you can call in on Extra Mile. You can call in and we'll reserve you a ride, or you can use an app. We actually recommend folks use the app because it's kind of like that public transit, the Uber or Lyft, where you can see, okay,
right,
the estimated time arrival, you see where the driver is, you can see them on the map. It's a little better experience if you use it through the phone. It's easier for us as well.
Yes.
Keeps down on the call volume, but of course, still call in, that's fine too. You can definitely still call in, and that'll also, so we'll reserve your ride. And there's actually a software that takes all those rides coming in and then prioritizes how they should be picked up, right? So we can't on the fly determine what the best routing is effectively. That's what the software does. Okay. The software will see, let's say you've got 5 rides coming in, it'll tell them to pick these people up first, then drop them off, then pick them too. So it kind of decides what the fastest way is, the most efficient way to pick people up and drop them off. And so you can, again, we can customize the algorithm and make it work how we want to work, but again, it's still a software. So we switched from one company to another because the one company we had, it was fine. We had some issues with it and some we were noticing a lot of the times are inaccurate, and it was kind of leading to some headaches. So we wanted to go with a more state-of-the-art vendor, and so we have with Via, and so we have a brand new app for folks who've been using and we've seen most people who have been using Extra Mile have now downloaded that app. But it's Extra Mile by RVT.
Yep.
And that's the app you can download, and again, you can just request a ride right then and there. As long as it's within our service zone and hours, you can give it a shot. Again, you can also call in as well, and we'll reserve your ride that way.
Now, what are hours of service?
Good question. Off the top of my head, I believe I used to know this. There's been so much going on. In Old Saybrook, Westbrook, and Essex, that zone, I believe it's around 7.
Okay.
6 or 7. It starts in the morning. It starts early in the morning, and it ends at 8. So it ends at 8. I believe it starts around 6, 7 in the morning. So it gives you a pretty full range of time there for work, for grocery shopping, for hanging with friends, whatever you need to do. That's why a funny anecdote is like people will ask who uses it. Well, seniors use it. Also, young people use it too. Everybody uses it.
Oh yeah.
People use it to go to work. A funny, some of the high school students have been using it to go to McDonald's after school. They'll request an Extra Mile. It comes and picks them up. So anybody can use it. So
there you go.
It's definitely worthwhile. So, yeah.
I've used it to basically get off, or I'll have Extra Mile, not Extra Mile. I'll have the dialer ride pick me up.
Yep.
Drop me off at Dunkin' Donuts.
Okay.
In Saybrook.
Yep.
Get a cup of coffee, and I'll take my coffee for a walk to work.
There you go.
Or if it's nasty weather out, I'll punch it up on the app. Bink.
Yep.
Best buck 75 I've spent.
That's what I'm saying. It's a pretty good deal for $1.75.
It is.
You can't get much for $1.75 these days. That's all I gotta say.
Absolutely.
So a ride is not bad. And I should also say that too, our bus fare is also $1.75. So the traditional bus is also $1.75.
And you guys accept
we accept
cash,
or we also have this thing called Token Transit, which is again an app. I know a lot of apps these days, but it's an app where you can actually attach a debit card or a credit card to it, and that way you can pay with that. So you can just show them. You can buy a monthly pass, a single ride pass, a 10 ride pass, however you want to do it. And you can just show the bus driver, and there'll be like a QR code, and then okay, you're good. You paid for it, and they let you on. I can actually say anecdotally, not even anecdotally, with data that we've seen the number of people using Token Transit has actually gotten pretty significant. It used to be about 10% of our riders. Now it's closer to 30-40%. And just a few, it's really blown up. So people like the idea of having their debit card and credit card attached.
Right.
So definitely there's a lot of momentum towards that as well. But again, we will always take cash.
Right.
And the reason being is one, some folks don't have credit cards. Some folks don't have banks. Some folks don't have smartphones.
Right.
And so we will always take cash. I can tell you that because it's an equity issue. If you're underbanked, you don't have a bank account, don't have a credit card, don't have a smartphone, we want to make sure you can still use the system.
Yeah.
So we will always make sure we have cash. We're just adding additional options as well for folks if they want it.
Or you can go to your favorite supermarket on the shoreline and buy the 10-trip tickets.
True. We have some of the Stop and Shops, I believe in Clinton, Old Saybrook, and then in Deep River, the Adams in Deep River. You can buy tickets. You can go to our location at 17 Industrial Park Road in Centerbrook. There's you can buy tickets there. And then very easily in Middletown, the bus terminal where all the buses come in, you can definitely buy tickets there. We sell a lot of tickets there. Yep. And I think one other thing I wanted to chat about too, Pete, if that's right, is the service increases, if that's okay.
Yeah, go for it.
Because that's a pretty cool thing. So like I just said, we talked all about, I just blabbed on and all about and did the slideshow all about the route changes and schedule changes. But now there's going to be even more coming because, which is a good thing, the governor passed a budget to actually increase our budget pretty significantly. So we applied for a series of improvements and actually got a lot of them funded, which we're very happy about. But what that means now is that we have a lot of new service coming in. So we're going to try. We wanted to make sure we got these changes first, and now our big push is to get these new expansions coming in. So more service is always good for us. So what that means is for our top 4 performing routes. So for the 581 in Middletown, 584, 585, and 590, all 4 routes are in Middletown. They're all going to be getting weeknight service to 11 p.m., Saturday night service to 11 p.m., and biggest of all, Sunday service from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. So for folks who don't know, we've actually never had Sunday service.
Yeah.
At least not since it's been a long time, so it's a pretty big deal.
Yeah.
Because right now we just don't have any service on Sunday, which there's people who go to work, people need to get to grocery stores. So
Exactly.
it's a huge deal to have Sunday service, at least for 4 of our routes. It's not our entire system, but it's a very generous increase in our budget. So we're going to put it towards that, and we are trying to also get money to have the 641, that shoreline rail in green.
Yep.
Trying to get that Sunday service too from, again, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. as well. So we were also trying to get Sunday service for the 641. And so I think we haven't gotten funding for that, but we've basically told them, hey, this is our second or third best route. It needs funding too.
Yeah.
I think they're open to that. So I think I think either way we'll be able to find some money to make that happen. But we're committed to also having the 41 also get some Sunday service too, because it deserves it. For ridership, it has the ridership to merit it. So.
Oh, does it?
Oh yeah, like I said, it's the second or third biggest, most popular route. So what they did is they took our 4 best routes,
Okay.
which were again the 581, 84, 85, and 590 in Middletown. They gave all the funding to that. What they missed though is that the 641 actually does better than 2 of those routes. So it actually missed that route as well. So that's why we're going to get funding for that. So hopefully that will be the case for Sunday.
Cool.
Yeah, Sunday service.
Wow. So what other types of stuff do we have going on for this winter as far as
Yeah, sure.
service increases?
Yeah, so those are the big ones for the service increases. Again, I will say is keep an eye out for the extra mile zones. So again, we could have new extra mile zones in East Hampton,
Okay.
and Madison and Guilford, and again more service in Middletown. And yeah, I guess we're going to keep looking at that. And again, as part of this process, I can just tell a little bit too with the service changes. I've been lucky enough to be able to get out of the office for a little bit and ride some of the new bus routes and to talk to people and see what their impressions are.
Okay.
So I've only done it in Middletown so far, but I will make my way down to the shoreline as well. But so far, it seems like most people are actually pretty happy with it. So we definitely get complaints for sure about the new changes. Of course, there will be, but overall, by and large, when you talk to people on the bus, they actually seem to like it, which is nice to hear. They like the bi-directional service. They like some of the new routing. So again, not everybody, but a lot of folks have been liking it. And for folks who don't like it, we are taking their feedback seriously. So we have right now a list of we're tracking all the complaints we have, so we know, okay, if there's a series of complaints we keep getting on one part of the route, maybe we can change it come the service changes in the winter, right?
Right.
So as part of those service expansions I mentioned, it's happening in the winter / early spring, depending on how fast we get it done.
Okay.
That will require new brochures. So the brochure I just showed, there'll be another one coming out. I know.
Oh,
We just
good.
finished a brochure. Well, there'll be another brochure coming out. It'll be a lot smaller of an update. It'll just be adding the hours,
Right.
the scheduled hours. But yeah, so we've got a lot going on at the transit district right now. There's a lot to work on. And then, like I said, once the service expansions are done in the winter and spring, then we'll be looking towards the bus stop transition. So going from flag stop to designated bus stop. So that'll be a massive undertaking as well. That could potentially be the biggest of these undertakings that I've mentioned so far. So that'll be on there too. So we got lots going on, but it's a good problem to have. Like I said, there's been many times that I know my executive director Joe. He's been on the show as well.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if you know him well. He's seen the good and the bad times. He's seen times where they've been cutting service. He's been times when we've seen extended service. We're in a time where we're seeing a lot more money in transit than we have in a while. That's a good thing. So overall, I think there's a lot to be excited about, and hopefully, the investments in transit stay. We don't get cut in the future. So hopefully it stays, and people continue to invest in transit. So I think it's worth it. And I think if you talk to our riders, it's definitely worth it to them. So hopefully we'll continue to see that happen.
One of the other things we haven't talked about yet is the new website.
Thank you good point. There's a lot. We also have a new website going. All this stuff happens all at the same time. We always try and space it out, but how it always works is everything all comes together at once. I think some folks can relate to that. But we also have a new website. So when all this was happening, we're also working on a brand new website. So if you go to rivervalley.com, you can see our new website. And we also spent a lot of time on this. To highlight some of the new features, one, it looks a lot better. It doesn't look like a website from the 90s. No offense to all the websites, but they were looking a little dated. This one looks brand new and looks nice. It has more functionality as well. So it doesn't just look nice, it actually has more functions. So there's a real-time trip planner, so you can actually type in, okay, I'm here, I want to go to there, and it'll tell you the best ways to get there on transit.
Cool.
So it's a little embedded map you can type in. Let's say we're at the water's edge and we want to go to the Old Saybrook train station. It'll tell you how to get there using transit to right embedded on the website. We also have a live map as well. So Each route, there's a route map as well as a system-wide map that has the real-time information for the buses. So you can see where they are. You can see the bus maps and you click on a stop and see when the bus is coming. So there's a lot of cool functionality in the new website. And you can leave comments on the website. You can give us feedback there. And yeah, we think there's a lot more information. It's a better website.
Yeah.
Folks should check it out. And I also make a plug too for folks to take a look at these new changes. If you're watching this and you've never used transit before, and you're kind of thinking about it, or maybe it could be useful, just take a look online. Go to rivervalleytransit.org. Take a look at our brochure, a closer look.
Right.
Take a look at our offerings and Dollar Ride. Take a look at Extra Mile, ADA. Look at all of our services. We don't just run the bus routes. We have other services as well. So maybe one of them will be a good fit for you. Maybe you don't need it all the time. Maybe your car breaks down one day and you need to get to work. Maybe we can get you to work, right? So I would just take a look. Maybe come up with a plan B in case your car breaks down, or maybe you want to stop driving. Maybe you're getting a little older. Maybe you want to think about trying to transition away from cars and into transit. Well, take a look. Maybe we can be a good fit. So that's my plug anyway. So just take a look. It can't hurt.
Now let's talk about ADA.
Sure.
What is it?
Yeah, so ADA is our paratransit service. So based on the 1991 Americans with Disabilities Act, all transit districts have to provide ADA transit service for all fixed route buses. So what that means is, for example, in Middletown, all those bus routes you saw on the map, there basically has to be something for folks who can't use the bus. So if you can't use the bus, if you have a physical or mental disability that would prevent you from using the bus effectively, you can be qualified for ADA paratransit.
Yes.
Which is similar to the Extra Mile and Dollar Ride, where it'll actually come to your door, pick you up, and drop you off at your location. So this eliminates the need to get on the bus, find your way around, it's a more easy way for folks to get from point A to point B and make sure they get there safely.
Cool.
And so ADA works around 3/4 of a mile around the bus routes. So it's the opposite of Dollar Ride. This is kind of confusing, but basically how it works is, when you see a bus route, if you are within 3/4 of a mile of that, imagine like an imaginary buffer, imaginary circle around the route, right? If you're within 3/4 of a mile of that route, you can apply for ADA if you have a mental or physical disability that prevents you from using it. There's an application process.
Yeah.
Our ADA assessor, Chris, will walk you through the process, see if you're eligible. And then, so that's ADA. If you're beyond that 3/4 of a mile mark, right? So here's the if you're beyond that circle, you're Dollar Ride. That's how it works. So if you're close to a bus stop, ADA. If you're far from a bus stop, Dollar Ride. That's kind of your thought. So, so basically how it is like if your ADA allows folks who can't use the bus to get to use the bus, basically.
Right.
And so it's very important, and it's a good accessibility measure and a good equity measure, and we're very happy to provide it. And Chris is great. She'll walk everybody through it, and you can apply either online or you can give us a call, and we'll help you fill it out. And we'll make sure you're good to go. We often ask for doctors' notice to make sure that the condition is legitimate. Some folks will try and use it without condition, so you just have to prove that you do have the condition you're saying you have. Okay. So a doctor's note or a referral from someone other than you will usually do. So we want to make sure there's no fraud going on. But yeah, it's a great program, and on a 351 way, $7 round trip.
It is.
Yes. Yep.
And that runs Monday through Friday?
So Monday through, actually the ADA runs the exact same times as the bus routes.
Aha.
So again, it mirrors the bus route exactly. So basically, ADA is supposed to be, if you can't use the bus route, here's the replacement. And so the replacement matches the same time as the bus route itself. So I know it's kind of confusing, like I said, but if you look at the website, you can go through, or you can give us a call and we'll explain, each service more and how it relates to you. And so also if you're curious, am I Dollar Ride, am I ADA, you don't know, give us a call and we have a thing we can just tell you right away if you're ADA or Dollar Ride or what you are, so what you qualify for.
So they'll tell you what you are if you call?
That's right. They'll tell you what you are. That's right. They'll tell you what you are, at least related to transit.
Yeah.
They'll tell you what you are related to transit. That's right.
And everything, obviously, all the dispatchers are pretty knowledgeable and friendly when you call.
Again, we have new folks coming in, so sometimes you got to give them some slack, but yeah, they're all pretty good.
Yeah.
Especially our folks who've been there a while, and we got some new folks coming in too. We're lowering the system, and I'm sure they'll be up and running in no time. So.
Cool. Brendan from River Valley Transit, thanks for some time.
Always good to see you.
We'll see you soon.
Sounds good.
You got it. Thanks, Paul.
Thanks, Pete.
On behalf of Brendan, I'm Pete Mezzetti. Thanks, good night, and we'll see you next time.